They tried to bury him under lies, but he planted truth, and it grew roots. Before we begin, make sure you hit that subscribe button, right now, because this story, this one will shake you to your core. Click the link below to subscribe to the untold struggles and never miss the truth they don't want told. White right pointing backhand index, subscribe here. It was a bright Monday morning in Brookhaven Heights, a quiet, gated community where order, appearances, and unspoken biases ruled everything. Judge Marcus Hill, a respected African-American federal judge in his late 40s, had just finished his morning jog. Sweat glistened on his forehead as he approached his two-story home, one that he'd worked his whole life to afford. But taped to his mailbox was a notice from the Homeowners Association, HOA, stamped in bold red. Violation, unapproved property modifications, hearing required. Marcus frowned. He hadn't modified anything. The wooden fence, the garden, the mailbox, all within regulation. He'd been careful. Very careful. From the corner of his eye, he saw them, 3 HOA members, clipboards in hand, whispering and pretending not to watch him. "Morning," Marcus greeted calmly. One of them, Richard Vaughn, a sharp-suited HOA staff member with a smug expression, looked him over. "Morning, Judge Hill. Hope you got our notice. We'll need you at the board meeting Wednesday. This is serious." Marcus's jaw tightened. "Serious? About what?" "About the violations on your property." "It's all there," Richard said, tapping his clipboard. Then came the smirk. "We expect everyone to follow the rules, no exceptions." Marcus looked down at the notice again, the accusation clear but absurd. He could sense something else behind this. And deep down, he knew, this wasn't about property lines. This was about control. The HOA meeting room was cold, sterile, and filled with quiet judgment. At the head of the long table sat Richard Vaughn and Susan Blake, the HOA president, a woman who prided herself on preserving the neighborhood standard. Marcus entered in his judge's composure, calm, confident, but guarded. Susan didn't even greet him. "We are here to discuss multiple violations on your property," she began curtly. "Your fence exceeds height restrictions. Your mailbox is non-compliant. And your lawn," she paused, "appears unkempt." Marcus let out a quiet chuckle. "Unkempt? My gardener trims it twice a week." Richard leaned forward. "We have photos, Judge Hill." He projected grainy pictures on a screen, angles that seemed oddly specific, almost staged. A broken fence panel. A mailbox slightly tilted. Marcus raised an eyebrow. "When were these taken?" "Last week," Richard replied quickly. "Funny," Marcus said, crossing his arms. "I was out of town on judicial business, and my security cameras don't show anyone inspecting my property." Silence. Susan's voice hardened. "Regardless, these violations must be corrected immediately or fines will be imposed." Marcus nodded slowly. "So this is how it's going to be." He gathered his folder. "You accuse without evidence, fabricate violations, and expect me to bow." Richard sneered. "You may be a judge in the courthouse, but here, you're just another resident." Marcus paused by the door. He turned, eyes steady. "Then I'll see you in your courthouse." If you're still watching, you already know something's about to go down. Hit that subscribe button right now and join the Untold Struggles family. Because what happens next will leave your jaw on the floor. White right pointing backhand index, subscribe here. Over the next week, things escalated fast. Marcus's mail was flooded with fines. His security camera footage, mysteriously deleted. Neighbors began whispering. His trash wasn't collected. And someone had spray-painted rule breaker on his driveway. Still, Marcus stayed calm. He'd seen injustice before, but this was personal. That evening, his teenage daughter Naomi approached him. "Dad, why are they doing this?" she asked quietly. Marcus looked out the window at the neighborhood he once loved. "Because some people can't stand when you stand tall," he said softly. Then his eyes sharpened. "But they're about to learn what standing tall really means." Marcus gathered every notice, every email, every recording. He had one advantage they didn't know. His courtroom was his territory. He wasn't just a resident. He was the law. The courtroom was packed that morning. News had spread that Judge Marcus Hill was taking his own HOA to court for harassment and defamation. Richard and Susan sat across from him, smug but nervous. Their attorney, Carl Benson, whispered hurriedly to them. Marcus stood tall, representing himself. He wore no robe today, only truth. He approached the stand with calm precision. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, voice steady, "this case isn't about grass, mailboxes, or fences. It's about abuse of power and the belief that certain people can be bullied into silence." Gasps filled the room. Marcus presented his evidence: surveillance logs, deleted data backups, and most shocking of all, an email chain between Richard and Susan. In it, they mocked Marcus, referring to him as the judge who thinks is above our rules. The courtroom went silent. Marcus looked them dead in the eye. "You forgot something. In my courtroom, the truth always finds its way to the surface." The jury deliberated for only 45 minutes. Verdict: in favor of Judge Hill. The HOA was ordered to pay damages for harassment and falsified documentation. Susan's face drained of color. Richard slumped in his seat. But Marcus wasn't smiling. He only said quietly, "Justice isn't revenge. It's restoration." News outlets picked up the story. Judge Wynn's landmark case against HOA flooded local headlines. Neighbors began approaching Marcus, apologizing, thanking him for standing up. "You didn't just win for yourself," one elderly woman said. "You won for all of us." But Marcus knew the victory was just the beginning. He'd exposed a small crack in a much bigger system. He'd started a conversation about power, respect, and the quiet discrimination hidden behind regulations. That evening, Naomi hugged him tightly. "Dad," she whispered, "you showed them who you are." Marcus smiled faintly. "No," he said, "I showed them who we all can be when we stop letting fear silence us." Weeks later, as Marcus was about to leave for work, a new letter appeared on his doorstep. This time, it wasn't from the HOA. It was from the County Ethics Board, notifying him of a pending complaint filed anonymously, accusing him of conflict of interest in his own case. Marcus froze, heart sinking. Someone was still pulling strings. He looked up to see a black SUV parked down the street. Inside, Richard Vaughan sat in the passenger seat, smiling coldly through the window. Marcus's expression hardened. "This isn't over," he murmured. The camera pans up, showing the suburban street, calm and quiet once again. But beneath that calm, the battle for truth had only just begun. To be continued.